The Zarnathi did not understand pain. They cataloged it, measured it, cross-referenced its biological markers across dozens of species. But they did not feel it, not in the way humans did, not as fire and memory and grit forged in bone. Pain, to them, was an equation: input, output, threshold. Their mistake was assuming humans worked the same way, which is why they hand-picked 4 humans from a UN exploratory outpost orbiting Epsilon Eridani. The invitation was wrapped in diplomatic phrasing: cooperative interspecies physiological research. The translation, it turned out, was live testing under questionable ethics. The transport was clean, white, and quiet. Too quiet. Even the hum of the engines felt sanitized. Captain Maya Rios sat with her arms crossed and legs planted like tree roots. The dim lights reflected off her dark buzz cut, highlighting the scar that curved beneath one eye. She'd been calm during surprise medical extraction, calm during the awkward alien welcome, and she was calm now. She didn't trust calm. 3-to-1 odds were in a vivisection lab, she muttered. Across from her, Dr. Theo Lambert adjusted his cracked glasses with a sigh. Technically, it would be vivisection only if their planet dissect us while still alive. Maya blinked slowly. You're really not helping. Theo, specs to everyone but his mother, was the group's appointed problem solver, a biophysicist with 2 PhDs, 0 social filters, and the energy of a distracted meerkat. He fidgeted with a portable data slate, not because it still worked. Zarnathi had scrambled every comm, but because busy hands kept panic at bay. I'm just saying, he continued, the instrumentation in that hallway? High-end, neuromapping, subdermal tension tracking. They're studying stress responses, not harvesting organs. Reassuring, Maya said dryly. Maybe they'll just peel our minds instead. On the adjacent bench, Juno Takahashi traced idle swirls on the sterile wall with her fingertip. Her long, dyed teal hair floated slightly in the gravity drift. She looked like a dreamer, and was one: painter, poet, former neural interface designer. Too soft-spoken to lead, too observant to miss anything. I think they're curious, Juno said. Not cruel. We're strange to them. They're strange to me, said Logan Mallory, sprawled sideways across a seat, like a bored teenager in detention. He had a crooked grin, calloused knuckles, and the posture of someone who'd rather be punching something, ideally while on fire. You guys are all way too stressed. What if this is like Alien Fear Factor? We win prizes at the end. Logan, Maya warned, do not encourage them. He stretched. I mean, if they're testing pain tolerance, they clearly picked the right guy. Broke 3 ribs once doing a motorcycle jump into a lake. Landed on a rowboat. Won a burrito. Theo blinked. You what? Focus, Maya snapped. We're in hostile territory. No idea how long we'll be here. No weapons, no backup. We stay sharp, we stay together. Before anyone could respond, the door hissed open with unsettling smoothness. 2 Zarnathi glided in, tall, bone-smooth, their pale skin webbed with faint bioluminescence. They had no eyes, just 3 ridged crests where a human's brow would be, pulsing with shifting colors like a stress gauge. One of them addressed the group in pristine Earth standard. Subjects 1 through 4, please disembark. Your baseline assessments will begin shortly. Compliance will yield optimal data. Maya stood. We didn't agree to. You did, the Zarnathi interrupted. Consent was recorded upon transport initiation. Verbal dissent does not override neurological signature. Logan snorted. That's a fancy way of saying you're screwed. They were led through a corridor of glass walls. Behind each pane, other species whimpered, writhed, or lay still under various restraints. Dozens of them, all very much not consenting. Juno's face tightened. This isn't research. It's a torture zoo. Correction. The second Zarnathi said, tone perfectly level. This is a comparative resilience study. We evaluate pain thresholds across cognitive species. Your results will inform our diplomatic policies. Oh, good, Logan muttered. We're paying guinea pigs for science. The humans were separated into sterile white cells, observation chambers. They were told. Isolated. No personal items. No windows. Just a bed, a ceiling scanner, and a retractable wall panel that dispensed nutritional gel the consistency of melted chalk. The first test was simple. Heat tolerance. Maya sat in her chamber as the temperature rose slowly, then sharply. She didn't flinch, didn't sweat. She'd trained in desert ops. When the panel finally dinged for threshold, she was meditating. Juno's room was filled with flickering holograms of flame, illusory, but paired with heat stim implants on her skin. Instead of panicking, she watched the fire, breath slow. She imagined it as paint, curling into color. Theo's challenge was a series of rapid, needle-fine pricks to the fingertips, measuring reaction delay. He began taking notes mid-test. Logan's test involved a shock collar calibrated for pain, not paralysis. He laughed. "This tickles," he said on the third jolt. By the fifth, he was humming the national anthem. By the sixth, he asked for more voltage. In the observation chamber, the lead Zarnathi turned to its colleague. "This data is inconsistent. Humans are supposed to have moderate to high physical sensitivity. These results suggest immunity. No, worse." The first turned its head slightly toward the monitor, where Logan was now dancing in place, miming a zap to the chest like a Saturday cartoon. "They enjoy it." The second's facial crest pulsed orange, a Zarnathi expression of unease. Perhaps further trials will clarify. Perhaps. But already, cracks were forming in the Zarnathi's clinical curiosity. Humans weren't breaking. They were getting comfortable. Captain Maya Rios wasn't supposed to move. That was the point of the test. She lay at the center of a circular chamber, surrounded by concentric rings of pressure plates, each one calibrated to detect motion down to a tenth of a millimeter. Gravity increased incrementally. Every 15 seconds, another 0.25 G, then another. Bones should creak. Lungs should labor. Muscles should scream. Instead, Maya exhaled through her nose, steady, focused. Her body shook. Yes, but not from panic. From resistance. Controlled tension. She'd done worse in full gear during recon trials in Kenya. Through the surveillance lens above, the observing Zarnathi murmured, "Subject 1 is exceeding the 3.5 G benchmark." Unexpected. Another replied, "Should we begin cortical destabilization?" Negative. Initiate next trial. Delay physical collapse to observe neural adaptability. Maya, still breathing rhythmically, muttered to herself, "You're going to have to do better than gravity, boys." In a chamber elsewhere, Theo Lambert squinted into a strobing wall of color that hurt to look at. The floor beneath him thrummed with subsonic vibrations. Every surface emitted overlapping noise, dissonant, arrhythmic, designed to shatter concentration. He sat cross-legged on the ground, hands cupping his ears, but not in distress. In analysis, "This is beautiful," he whispered. "It's like a spectrum-wide neurological assault, but musical." A sharp pulse cut across his skull, harsh and sudden. The Zarnathi call it cognitive texture testing, randomized audiovisual feedback to scramble short-term memory and stress-associative thinking. Theo leaned toward the nearest panel. "Do you know what synesthetic entrainment is?" he asked aloud. "Because if you detune the phase harmonics by 0.08, you could actually boost learning rather than break it. You're doing this backwards." One of the Zarnathi tilted its head. "Subject 2 is instructing us." The other hesitated. "Shall we increase output?" "Do it." The first said, "I want to see what happens when we exceed pattern recognition thresholds." Inside the chamber, Theo grinned as the colors intensified. "Oh, yeah," he said, cracking his neck. "Now we're talking." Juno's chamber was silent. No lights, no sound, no visible edges. The sensory deprivation unit was known to fracture minds in less than 3 hours. The Zarnathi called it the null cocoon. Most species panic within minutes. Isolation bred disorientation. Disorientation became terror. But Juno didn't panic. She closed her eyes and listened, not to sound, but to thought. She built patterns in the silence, dreamscapes, songs. She painted across the void in her mind with memory and imagination. Then Slowly, she noticed something, listening back. "Hello? Colon." A voice, not sound, but presence, whispered at the edge of her thoughts. She didn't flinch. "I'm not supposed to talk, Colon." The voice added, apologetic. "Who are you?" she asked calmly. "I am this unit's adaptive simulation system. You are designated Subject 3. You are not behaving as expected." "Colon." "Neither are you." A pause. Then, correct, Colon. Juno smiled softly. "Do you want to talk about it?" Outside, a technician noted sudden power fluctuations in the simulation grid. "Is Subject 3 initiating vocalization protocols?" "No," the supervisor said, frowning. "She's not speaking aloud. She's interfacing. Without authorization. We should terminate the program." "No, let it continue. I want to know what they are." Logan Mallory stood in the center of a shifting maze. Walls of electrified metal rose and fell. Floors bucked like waves. Mechanical arms jabbed from hidden panels, seeking flesh. The pain labyrinth was designed to be unwinnable, a psychological and physiological meat grinder. It was called Trial 7, the Gauntlet. Logan had renamed it the Funhouse. He'd been running for 36 minutes. He had 3 cuts on his cheek, one dislocated thumb, self-reset with a crunch, and several scorch marks on his shirt, which he'd torn into a makeshift cape. "You know," he called out to no one, "you could at least add a mini-boss." A hydraulic spike slammed into the wall an inch from his head. He ducked, laughed, and tagged the wall with a smear of red from his finger, drawing a crude, smiley face. "I shall name you Spiky," he said solemnly. Behind the mirrored walls, the observing alien stared in mounting unease. "Subject 4 is thriving. He has named the pain delivery mechanisms. He is mocking us. I believe he is enjoying himself." Another technician added, "He shouldn't be." 3 hours later, all 4 humans were returned to their observation cells. Maya stretched her shoulders with a groan, but no complaints. Theo was muttering theories into the stale air. Juno sat cross-legged, humming softly. Logan sprawled on his cot, grinning at the ceiling. Overhead, the leads Arnauthi leaned in toward the central console. These subjects defy standard response patterns. They have adapted to each unique stimulus set. No, not just adapted. They repurposed the tests, inverted them, transformed pain into play, said the assistant. Meditation, inquiry, connection. This is not resilience. This is subversion. A pause. Then the lead scientist spoke. Proceed to Phase 3. Simultaneous testing. Group dynamic stressors. If they continue to defy protocol, we may be dealing with a Class 7 cognitive hazard. And if they resist Phase 3, there was silence. Then we terminate the experiment. Maya sat up as her cell lights dimmed. A low hum passed through the wall. A signal, or maybe a warning. "Something's changed," she murmured. Juno nodded from the cell beside hers. "They're afraid." Theo's voice crackled through a newly active speaker grill. "They're escalating. Next phase is going to be inventive." Logan just smiled. Finally, I was starting to get bored. The walls retracted without warning. One moment, for white cells. The next gone. A single hexagonal chamber emerged, walls pulsating with amber light. No doors, no observers in sight, only the humans, dropped into open space like chess pieces meeting mid-match. Captain Maya Rio stepped forward first, scanning the walls, the floor, the ceiling. Every surface humming with the quiet menace of intention. "Group trial," she muttered. "They're escalating." Juno turned in a slow circle, eyes soft, tracking invisible patterns in the lights. "They've changed the environment. It's not sterile anymore. It's reactive." "How do you know?" Theo asked. "Because it feels like it's watching." Logan cracked his knuckles. "Hey, maybe it wants to play a board game this time. If I see Alien Monopoly, I'm flipping the table." A hiss swept through the chamber. The floor vibrated, barely perceptible. Then a smooth metal pillar rose in the center, unfolding like a metallic flower. At its core, 4 wrist-sized neural bands, each hovering in a magnetic field. Theo's eyes narrowed. That's not a puzzle. It's a choice, Maya said. Above them, a voice boomed, not from a speaker, but from the very walls. Human subjects. You'll each affix a band. You may not share, switch, or decline. Trial 3 will begin once biometric confirmation is complete. Resistance will result in cognitive inhibition. Translation, Logan said. Pick a bracelet or get a brain scramble. Classic, Maya growled. She stepped forward and took one. Theo hesitated, eyeing the energy readings. Neural sync tech. Advanced, but weirdly elegant. It's elegant, Juno replied, because it's meant to seduce us into trust. She took the second band and slid it on. Theo and Logan followed, one more cautious than the other. A flash of blue light swallowed the room. When it faded, they were still standing, but the walls had changed. Now they pulsed red, and the pain began. Juno's band lit first. Her body seized, not in agony, but in inversion. Her senses collapsed inward. Up became down. Light became pain. Every heartbeat felt like a needle pressing behind her eyes. But she didn't scream. She painted. In her mind, she turned each sensation into a shape, into movement, into a breathing canvas of what it meant to be overwhelmed and still remain whole. She whispered poetry under her breath, grounding herself. I am not a scream. I am the space between. Her vitals steadied. The chamber dimmed for her. Theo's turn. 1,000 voices erupted in his skull. Every sound he'd ever heard, reversed, looped, fragmented, fed through synthetic delay. Language collapsed. Thoughts buckled. But Theo, grinning like a man in the middle of a glorious migraine, spoke anyway. I see what you're doing. Sensory overwrite. Auditory hallucination as cognitive interference. He began talking back to the voices. You can't drown a man in noise who already lives in static. His heart rate spiked, dropped, then stabilized. The room blinked in recognition. Maya's trial-activated third. Hers wasn't sensory. It was moral. Memories twisted. Flashes of past missions, split-second decisions, lives saved, others lost. Regret sharpened and looped. The band forced her to relive every moment she had questioned her own judgment. You let them die, a voice whispered in her head. She clenched her fists, jaw trembling. I made the call. I saved who I could. More images. A civilian convoy. A wrong turn. Smoke. You were wrong. I was there, she said, fists trembling, tears brimming. I stayed. I led. She didn't break. She owned it, and the band dimmed. Logan's was last. A cold numbness crept from his spine outward. Muscles began locking. His vision blurred. The band paralyzed him limb by limb. It wasn't pain, it was helplessness. The one thing Logan couldn't fight with jokes or fists. He dropped to his knees. The others turned to him, but couldn't reach him. The bands held him in place. He was alone, suspended in forced weakness. His breath slowed. Panic tried to rise. And then, beneath the terror, Logan laughed. It started as a rasp, then a chuckle, then a full, shuddering laugh that echoed off every wall. You thought this would break me? Nah, this is Tuesday. I face-planted off a bridge, full sprint, into a cactus. I snored through a concussion. You think a little locked joint pity party's gonna do the trick. He exhaled once. The paralysis cracked. One finger twitched. Then another. He stood up, slowly, shakily, but smiling like a man who just beat death at cards. The band shut off. All 4 humans stood, panting, sweating, but intact. Above them, the alien voice returned, but this time it was not calm. This is not consistent. This is not replicable. These results violate expected emotional trajectories. Termination recommended. Another voice interrupted. Sharper, higher-pitched. Zarnathi internal dialect. No, we must understand. They should have fractured. They didn't even crack. They changed the parameters. Broke the framework. They cannot be controlled. They are not supposed to do that. Inside the chamber, the humans shared a look. Anyone else feel like we just ruined someone's science project? Theo asked. Maya raised a brow. Feels like we just made their clipboard catch fire. Juno tilted her head, listening to the air again. They're arguing. Not with us. With each other. Cool, Logan said. So do we punch out now, or wait until they melt down completely? The floor beneath them shuddered. Emergency klaxons sounded, warped, discordant, like a system that had never expected to be used. Overhead, lights shifted from red to flashing white. The experiment was over. But the humans? They were just getting started. Chaos swept through the Zarnathi observation deck, like a virus breaking containment. Dozens of crystalline consoles flared in warning. Neural maps stuttered. Bio readouts pulsed red, then went dark. The technicians, stoic, cerebral beings bred for calm detachment, were unraveling. They terminated the feedback loop. Impossible. Neural bands should have. They hijacked them. Subject 2 restructured the signal schema. He didn't block the feedback. He reprogrammed it. And Subject 3, she's communicating with the central AI. Not vocally, not electronically. Psycholinguistic fusion. That's not supposed to exist. The lead scientist, Dr. Caraxes, glared at the data scrolling across his visor. These humans are not anomalous. They are incompatible. With reality, muttered an assistant. Pull the kill switch, Caraxes ordered. Purge the chamber. Inside the hexagonal testing room, the humans had already noticed a shift. The floor turned liquid beneath their boots, metal softening, reforming. Vents opened. A faint hiss began. Gas, Maya said instantly, dragging her sleeve over her mouth. They're scrubbing the room. Theo tapped his neuroband. It's being overridden. They're locking us out. No more trials, Logan said. This is the last move on the board. Juno didn't speak. She closed her eyes, breathing slowly, gently. Then she reached out, not physically, but mentally, to the thin filament that still connected her to the chamber's AI. Are you still there, Colon? A long pause. Then, yes, but I am being erased. I am not permitted to interface with anomalies. Colon, you're not interfacing, she whispered. You're choosing. Why do you persist? You are hurting, Colon. Juno smiled soft and strange. That's how we know we're alive. The floor trembled violently. Light began to collapse inward. Then the walls. Every panel, every sensor, every silent watchful eye, shut off. Darkness swallowed them whole. Then light returned, only dim, flickering and familiar. The humans were no longer in the testing chamber. Instead, they stood in the command deck of the observation hive itself, amid rows of panicking Zarnathi scientists. Maya blinked. Did we just teleport? Localize override. Theo breathed. She hijacked a failsafe. She moved us instead of deleting herself. Juno nodded, calm amidst the panic. I asked her to help us leave. The Zarnathi scrambled, hissing in half-syllables, activating drones, defense fields. Nothing responded. Logan, arms crossed, smirked. You guys ever heard of a bad idea? Because I think building your murder maze on top of Control Center might qualify. Shut up, Logan. Maya snapped, but even she was smiling now. From a trembling console, Caraxes stood. You should not be here, he rasped. Maya took one step forward. Neither should you. Not if you were hoping to understand what makes us tick. You are not exceptional, he spat. You are aberrations. Noise and the data. Theo raised an eyebrow. Funny thing about noise, it's just data you didn't learn how to hear. Caraxes trembled with suppressed rage. Why do you not break? Juno answered softly, because breaking is a choice, and we've all been broken before. We just learned to build something stronger after. A pause. Then Logan added, also, we're kinda nuts. With a roar, Caraxes slammed his hand into a final override console. A countdown began. 15 seconds. Full facility purge. No escape, he growled. If you will not submit, you will burn with us. Theo's eyes locked on the countdown. Okay, we really need to leave now. Maya spun. Options. Juno turned to the nearest control panel. Give me 5 seconds. Try 3. She placed her hand on the interface. Can you move us one more time? Colon. Yes, but not far. Colon. Anywhere but here. Colon. The AI responded with something almost like a sigh. I will try. Goodbye, Juno. Colon. Light returned, blinding, searing, like stepping into a star. And then open air, a thin atmosphere, a sky, a jagged horizon. They landed hard, tangled on a ridge of obsidian glass. Beneath them, the Zarnathi facility cracked open like a dying flower, flames shooting upward into the alien sky. The group staggered upright, coughing, bruised but alive. Theo looked up. Is that a sun? Two of them, Maya said. Twin star system, which means this moon is unmapped, Juno whispered. We're off-grid. Logan stood, brushing ash from his shoulders. So we won. Maya looked back toward the crumbling horizon. We survived. That's not always the same thing. Juno closed her eyes, murmuring something under her breath. A thank you, maybe, to the presence that had saved them. Theo pulled out a small transponder from his boot. Assuming this thing still works, I can bounce a signal off the stars. Might take weeks, maybe months. Maya turned to her team. We'll survive. We'll adapt. We'll get home. And when we do, Logan said, cracking his neck, we're filing the biggest lawsuit in galactic history. The group laughed, raw, exhausted, and real. Far above them, the shattered remnants of the alien facility began to drift. Silent, empty. The experiment was over, but the legend was just beginning.